The New Mexican drought crisis. The size of the problem. New Mexico is one of the driest states in the country with a population of 2.13 million people, and it's slowly growing. New Mexico is also very commonly in drought, like this February when only a small section in the northeast didn't have drought. Due to drought and low rainfall, water is already limited in New Mexico, but a slowly increasing population means more and more water is required to meet needs, but higher temperature also means more of that needed water is slowly evaporated, meaning overuse of groundwater. With many rivers shrinking in size and some completely drying out, people have to start drilling groundwater to meet demand each year. Our over-dependence on groundwater. Groundwater is like a storage of water that has slowly filled for thousands to millions of years, meaning when we overpump, we slowly deplete those reserves, leaving less and less resources each time. We get a majority of our clean drinking water from the ground, as well as many farmers rely on groundwater for irrigation. And lastly, over 250,000 residents in New Mexico in 2001 got water from a privately owned well, showing that many people are at a greater risk of being affected due to drought and overusing water than many may realize. Groundwater in New Mexico is used for a ton of things, but by far the largest user is irrigating crops, with over 75% of all groundwater going to that, making the farming industry the largest users of groundwater by far, with the second largest user of groundwater being all of the public supply, meaning they're at the greatest risk of groundwater depletion while also being the group that can make the most change. So how do we decrease irrigation's demand for groundwater without decreasing the crop output? Well, we can change the irrigation methods. There are a couple types of irrigation. One being surface, which uses gravity to water the fields by sometimes flooding. And then there's sprinkler, which sprays water onto the crops. And then lastly, there's drip, which applies water directly to the root of the plant, leaving less water to be evaporated, especially in a desert. And in 2001, less than 1% of farms employed drip irrigation in New Mexico, meaning there's a lot of room for improvement. But why focus on drip over other technologies to help with the drought? Well, there are many technologies and methods that can be used to stop the drought problem in New Mexico. But why drip? Many technologies that can help with a drought are one purpose. They are built for the purpose of recycling water. Potable water systems, treating oil wastewater, they all help one smaller section of the drought problem. While irrigation, on the other hand, is one of the largest water users in the state, and a majority of the used irrigation systems are inefficient. An increased use of drip not only decreases water demand, it also allows farmers to produce more with fewer resources. You put in, say, some water, but you get more food out. Fewer input resources makes farming cheaper and more appealing, which could lead to increased food supply and decreased water demand. The most commonly used type of irrigation in 2015 was sprinkler irrigation, taking up about 51% of all irrigation in New Mexico, with the second most common being flood irrigation, using about 54% of all irrigation in New Mexico, leaving drip irrigation in 2015 at only 3%. A study shows that drip can use 17 to 30% less water than furrow irrigation, making drip the most efficient but least utilized type of irrigation. And why is that? If you're gonna spend all that money on drip, what are the benefits? Drip can use 17 to 30% less water compared to furrow irrigation. The nutritional density / quality of food can also be higher with drip, even while using less fertilizer, which means you put in less resources and get more out. And the costs are higher up front, but over time, the money saved from decreased water use adds up, which can lead to some areas having extended aquifer lives, allowing some areas to be farmed longer. If drip irrigation was more widely used, the amount of water needed would go down significantly. But why doesn't anybody use drip? Well, mainly due to its price. Drip irrigation can cost on average $700 to $1,200 per acre for installation. Compare that to furrow costing about $200 to $400 per acre, meaning there's a significant price increase. And in the short term, lower costs are more attractive to farmers. And the high cost of drip irrigation systems discourage many farmers, who are among the lowest paid workers in the US, meaning installing the most expensive type of irrigation doesn't sound very appealing to many of them. While drip costs a lot and requires skilled labor for installation, there are multiple organizations that provide a lot of help, including loans to help funding and planning drip irrigation. Implementing drip can be daunting, so having easily accessible help is very important for making sure more drip irrigation can get implemented and less roadblocks stand in the way. If the loans were easier to find and apply for, many more farmers would consider the change. As of now, many of the loans aren't well known and can be hard to apply for. The technology is available to slow, if not stop, the drought, but many of the resources aren't easily accessible to many farmers. If more farmers knew about the water savings and available grants, the financial side becomes more appealing and would likely lead to a higher implementation of drip over other irrigation methods. If more farmers knew about the benefits of drip and had easier access to grants, more and more people would start implementing drip, causing a decrease in water demand. By raising awareness and advocating for greater investment in upgrading less efficient irrigation technology, we can make drought and water shortages a problem of the past.